Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of the long overdue and review of Doctor Who Caves of Androzani, which is Peter Davison, who played the Fifth Doctor, who was played by by Peter Davison, his last outing, surprisingly enough, seeing as it's in the Regenerations book set. Penned by Robert Holmes, who is arguably very much considered one of the best, if not the best, Doctor Who writer of all time. And then I think it's, don't quote me on this, but I think it's directed by Graham Harper, who is a sort of very talented Doctor Who director. So, Peter Davison and his last story were in good hands in that. So yeah, I've just watched the episode. It's very good. I did enjoy it very much so. I think it's one that I'll probably have to watch a second time because there are quite a lot of nitty-gritty sort of things. It's mad to think that this episode, much like any classic Doctor Who episode, is very much limited in so much as what it can do, and that in terms of like the filming locations they can go to and the sets they can make and all that. Time is always against them basically when they make a classic Doctor Who episode, and they don't have a lot of money either. So they're up against the clock and that. And yet, this episode feels so rich, so real, and the world of Androzani Minor feels so rich and real, even, and that, and it's I think Perry, as played by Nicola Bryant's second episode. I think she only gets introduced near the latter end of Peter Davison's run in Planet of Fire, I think it is, although it's only her second outing as a companion, she doesn't get much to do, I guess, and that. But the thing that does happen, obviously, this review will have spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, please do feel free to not watch this episode, I guess, or this video. But yeah, she very much takes on this role of, like, there's a specific thing that kind of happens to her in the episode, and that, which then means that Peter, as the Fifth Doctor's the fifth incarnation of the Doctor, has to very much go about this story trying to save her life, basically, and that. And I love how this episode does very much feel like an episode that if the Doctor and the companion weren't in this story, the story would still be a thing. Like, it's not very much dependent on the Doctor and the companion being there, and that, which is kind of odd to say considering it's Peter Davison's last story, so you would think he would be very much integral to the story, which he is, in so much as his story and his motive is to just save Perry, pretty much, but everything else around them is very much trying to kill them and that. And quite apt that I've got a very battered Fifth Doctor action figure here. But yeah, he gets very much, shot at and blown up and God knows what else and that a lot in this episode. Also, I know I don't mention this a lot in any of my Doctor Who reviews, whether it be classic series ones, Big Finish audios, or the new series. I often forget to mention this, but the music was really good in this. The music was very experimental, not experimental, but very atmospheric and very sort of chilling and haunting and that, and foreboding when it needed to be. And that, I think Peter gives this sort of really good, sort of strong, headstrong, sort of confident sort of approach to the role of the Fifth Doctor in this episode, which is quite odd considering that in a lot of other episodes I would say the opposite about him. But then it depends on a certain episode, like Earthshock, The Five Doctors, and this episode, 3 episodes where I would say his Doctor is very much, as I say, headstrong, confident, and trying to do the right thing, and that, and is very much the sort of action hero. But then there are other episodes where he's a bit more sort of squeamish and a bit more sort of takes a back seat, as it were. Then again, it is his last outing as the Doctor, so you would hope he'd be there at the forefront, which he very much is. The cliffhanger to part 3 is just phenomenal. You know, I could imagine watching that as if you were a kid, and that is just insane, so intense. And I'm assuming at this point, hopefully this was still at the point where the people who were making Doctor Who at the time didn't sort of reveal X amount of time ahead who would be next in line to play the part, so then everyone who was viewing Caves of Androzani would have an idea of that this was a regeneration story, and that hopefully that was kept under wraps, basically, because then, yeah, it would definitely add to, you know, episode 3, or part 3, and or episode 3's sort of cliffhanger where he's, like, you know, about to hit into the, you know, planet and that. It's very action-packed, very epic, for lack of a better term, and that, you know, the direction is brilliant, and it's really, really just, you know, interesting sort of world-building in part 1. Part 4, there are little nitpicks that I have here and there, which are that I guess some characters' motives aren't always clear in that, so as I say, for me personally it made it quite challenging to always keep up or follow the story, but that's just me, that's my own criticism, and I'll probably need a rewatch of this story at some point. The Bat creature is naff, let's be honest, but then again it is classic Who, and I kind of find that endearing about the story, and I kind of find it, yeah, like kind of just like proper classic Who, in so much as that even a brilliant story like this has a bit of a naff thing in it, you know, like it doesn't bring it down for me in so much as because the rest of the story is so good, and also it's like almost like if I was to say what elements of classic Who, what makes classic Who, one of the elements to that would be sort of a naff, you know, sort of monster, rubbery monster, you know, and that sort of bat creature very much, you know, is that. The way Peter's Doctor gets, the Fifth Doctor gets the sort of bat milk thing that he needs to save Perry, that seemed very sort of quick and convenient right at the end. Let's just get this out of the way, the bit where Nicola Bryan and or Perry's, you know, chest area is kind of in the way of Peter trying to give, like, a very good performance. That becomes kind of problematic, but then again, that is kind of funny. But yeah, what else? The regeneration effect itself is really good, really decent, and different as well, which I like, from the previous one where we had the Watcher and that sort of mystic character fade into Tom Baker and then reveal that Peter Davison was the next Doctor. This one we had almost a similar effect to when Peter, the Fifth Doctor, is about to crash and that into the planet. It's a very similar sort of effect, which is fine, and it really sort of starts spreading, widens, and then you have all this like sort of all these like ghost heads of like previous companions. You know, you got Tegan, Nyssa, Tolo, Chameleon, and Adric. And then you've got the Master just taunting the Doctor, being like, "Yes, die, Doctor, die," and then that kind of makes him wake up, and then he, you know, obviously pops his head up from the floor, and it's, you know, Colin Baker as the Doctor now, and that, and yeah, very interesting, very, very noble, very amazingly Doctor thing to do, just generally, to sacrifice himself for the well-being of someone else, but also it's even more empowered, I think, because Perry as a companion and as a character in the show only got introduced like an episode or two ago, and that, you know, so the Fifth Doctor hasn't really known this person very long, but he's still willing to sacrifice, you know, everything and his whole person for this person that he only knows very little about, really, you know, hasn't known very long, and that it's a very noble and Doctor thing to do, and I think that's such a good way to sort of end this Doctor's run, you know, because, you know, more than any of the other Doctors, I think, you know, maybe Jodie Whittaker's Doctor might give Peter's Doctor a run for his money, but I think his Doctor very much embodies the sort of human, emotional sort of empathy and caringness of the Doctor, you know, and I think that was such a brilliant and bold decision on John Nathan Turner's sort of in so much as for him to then pick someone who was so different from Tom, in so much as I say, all those characteristics, you know. If Tom's the alien one, then Peter's the very much grounded, you know, more caring, empathetic Doctor and that. And so yeah, so then there is that sort of not so much disconnect, but very, very, very big difference between the fourth and the fifth incarnation and that. And yeah, Peter knocks it out the park, really, with this story. Jared Jex, I totally forgot to even mention him. Oh, Jared Jex, or however you pronounce the villain's name. He's a creepy bastard. He is so weird and creepy and maniacal. He's very much Phantom of the Opera-esque, and you see his real face, his mangled face, towards the end of the story. The way that fight scene, that was a bit naff, but every criticism of this story, for me personally, is very much just little nitpicks here and there that could be tweaked to make it, you know, the perfect story and that. But for me, it is still going to be a 10 out of 10. It's such a big, monumentous sort of landmark, you know, sort of point of Doctor Who. You know, the beginning and end of a Doctor's run is always very big, and that, because you got to think, you know, like, people grew up with this Doctor, and this is the way that you know, they're leaving the show and that. And yeah, Jared Jex was creepy and maniacal, and there were these gun runners, and everyone's out to kill the Doctor and Perry, and it's a very dark, bleak sort of situation. And as I said, Jared Jex is a very creepy bastard, and sort of is, yeah, very creepy towards Perry and that, and that, and it just makes sense why he's the way he is, I guess. But it doesn't help that it doesn't help make him less creepy. But yeah, as I say, I'd give Kivs and Androzani a well-earned 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe.